Okay, everyone. So today our topic is the illustrations in Our Beloved Summer. Our Beloved Summer is a Korean drama about a young girl and a young boy who are in a documentary. She's top of the class and he's bottom of the class, and it's a documentary about them. And then later on, it turns out that he's a very successful artist, despite the fact that he was bottom of the class. They had a romance, they broke up, and now 10 years later, something like that, they're getting together. But since this is my art channel, actually, I really just want to talk about art. And in this drama, the young boy is an artist, and he's an artist of a particular kind. He's an illustrator of mostly buildings. He draws buildings. So I'm also going to try to improve my screen sharing ability. So I will share some things from Our Beloved Summer, but I'll also share some of my own art, and we'll see how all of that works. So you see here my latest work. And here she is. This is how small this is. It's a miniature, and I painted her like this because I'm going to be much busier in the future, and I won't be able to paint large paintings. So you can see, compared to my own face, it's a very small painting made in ink and watercolor. I'm going through a watercolor phase, but I'm also going through a phase of trying to learn how to screen share better. So I want to look and see how this looks on my YouTube channel. Okay, looking good. Okay, so the thing that I managed to do was that I managed to show you the part that I wanted to show you, and I didn't show you the part that I didn't want to. So I was able to cut it so that you could see just the picture. So that's pretty great. Now let's see if I can stop screen sharing and come back for a little while. Okay. All right. This is me practicing how to screen share. What you see with my recent paintings is that they've gotten smaller and smaller. So this is the latest one. It's kind of like Cosette in Les Mis. And this one is just a beautiful spring painting. I had a comment, actually a very sweet comment, that told me that the colors are nice, but I probably gave her too weak a chin, that there's a problem with proportions. And I think that's true. So I thank the person for that comment. But on the other hand, I have to ask myself, how do you know? If you haven't seen the girl, how do you know that her chin isn't weak? Or are we comparing this to an ideal person? One of my problems as an artist is I tend to caricature people. So if a person has somewhat of that, a minor difference in symmetry, then I will assume that, that, how shall I put it? I will make that asymmetry bigger. And that's how, as a character study, I can do a character study and people can recognize the person, but most defects are not as pronounced as all that. So when I started out drawing this, girl, the eyes were very, very different. And then when I started coloring it in, I made them a little bit more similar, but you can see these eyes are not identical in size. Part of that might be because we're looking at her at an angle, but part of that might be because her eyes actually aren't identical. If you look at me, for instance, my eyes are not identical. That's one of the things that make me me. I don't have a symmetrical face completely, but I notice a lot of artists when they're showing you how to draw, they'll say, okay, draw this kind of oval circle thing, and then draw a line through here, draw a line through here, draw a line through here. There's the nose, there's the mouth, there's the chin. And they're assuming kind of a lot of symmetry and a lot of uniformity. And but in real life, it's not like that. Not for people. Maybe for buildings, though. So I do want to share with you maybe some of the illustrations from that drama, Our Beloved Summer. Let's see if I can do this. So what I'm going to do is maybe give you a whiteboard first, okay? So there's our whiteboard, and let's see if I can use it to draw something. I'm not good at drawing with a whiteboard, but the thing that I was trying to tell you before is that these artists will draw a face, and see, I'm not good at that, but they can make everything terribly, terribly symmetrical, and they will draw these lines like this, and then they'll tell you that the eyes go here, and I don't know, and the nose goes about here, and the mouth goes here, and your chin is here, and that's how they start out their drawing. I've never been able to be able to do this kind of symmetry, but let me just try to see whether I can bring up some of these other things. I'm going to do this in advanced portion, but first I guess I have to take it basic and then advance it. Then, okay, well, there she is. But yeah, because I prepared her ahead of time. And you can tell that her eyes are very, asymmetrical. They're not symmetrical at all. So, but I want to share with you, okay, I'm going to be less fancy. I'm just going to go ahead and go into basic and share with you some of the illustrations that we have. And this is, a lot of these are the illustrations by the artist that are used as illustrations of our character. So you can see how symmetrical these are, and these are mostly buildings. Let me just make sure that we're seeing what I think we're seeing. Yeah, not bad. Okay. I mean, I could do worse. I could definitely do worse on screen sharing, but these are lovely, lovely illustrations. And what's more, they seem like designs. They don't just seem like illustrations, but they're very, very symmetrical. And of course, buildings do tend to be symmetrical. They can't be lopsided. So you can see very, very small details that are repeated over and over again in this roof. And it actually is the case that there are two illustrators. And let me see if I can find those. So there's an article about Meet the Artists. And this article tells us that actually there are two artists who contributed to the paintings that the character, or the illustrations that the character created. Okay, these are the real artists. One of them is called Thibaud Herem. He's in France. For some reason, I'm having trouble getting to where he is. Okay, and if you would like to see what these characters look like on in our beloved summer, this is what they look like. This is the young girl, and she's talking, and there they are in school. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing now and talk to you a little bit about that. Now, I have no idea if anybody is actually commenting, so I'm going to look again at the chat and see. And she's talking. Okay, I'm obviously saying a lot of ums. So I don't think that we have too many people watching us right now. Okay. So here's my question. Is there a difference between an illustrator and a character artist or caricaturist? And is there a difference between a designer and an artist that that specializes in portraits? So, okay, one of the plot points in our beloved summer, I guess I didn't mention that, is that the boy is really good at these buildings. And here's the backstory about him. He was abandoned by his father. His father worked on a construction site, and I don't know, he just one day he decided he was going to abandon his son. So what he said, he told his son to lie down on the pavement and look up at a big old skyscraper. And he said, you can't see the top of the very top of the skyscraper unless you lie down. Then you can see the roof. So he told him to lie down and see if he could see the roof, the top part of the skyscraper. And the boy said, I can't see it. I can't see it. And then eventually got up and looked around for his father, and his father had abandoned him. And he went through the city of Seoul crying, and eventually got adopted by a couple who had had a son who had died, and they ran a restaurant. Anyway, that's his backstory. So all he ever wanted to draw or paint were buildings, not people. In his sketches, in his drawings, whatever you want to call them, there were no people. Everything was peaceful. He said he liked buildings because buildings could be relied upon. Buildings did not change. And so he only wanted to draw buildings. So there was speculation among the people who watched the show, what was going to happen, what was the psychological outcome that was going to happen eventually. And one of the things that they guessed was, okay, he'll overcome whatever his emotional problems are. He'll get together with our heroine, and he'll eventually become a portrait artist because he'll want to paint her or draw her or whatever. And I kind of had a different take on it, before we saw the ending and everything. I thought, okay, he's really not an artist. He really wants to be an architect. He wants to design buildings. He's interested in the structure of buildings, which is very, very geometrical, very, very symmetrical. So who do you think was right? Well, in the series, actually, each party could say that they were right, because at the very end, we see him drawing the girl. But before that, he went to France, to Paris, and studied architecture. So it really didn't justify either one of the impressions that we had about this. But obviously, there's a relationship between architecture and art. There's a relationship between illustration design and architecture. And there's, on the side, there are character drawings. So he did actually end up drawing the girl. But I guess the question to ask was, did he make her more symmetrical than she actually was? Did he show her emotions? Because I, as an artist, make people less symmetrical than they are, but you can sort of see their character. I mean, I think this is an illustration of that. That's really clear to see. You see the girl's character. You see some imperfections in the drawing, and it's not always clear which part of the imperfection is that I can't draw very well, I can't paint very well, and which part is just that the girl is imperfect. What if we aren't all horribly symmetrical like a building? What if, the average person is kind of lopsided? People look at me and my glasses are always on crooked. If I drew somebody with crooked glasses, I might get corrected for doing that, So it's hard to say. In the case of buildings, there's a lot of symmetry in buildings. If they weren't very symmetrical, then I guess they wouldn't hold up very well. The symmetry is part of the function of the building. And then there are designers, because I watch a lot of artists now, and some of them are clearly designers. They like to make patterns, and the patterns are symmetrical. And this is what is pleasing about their designs. And some of those are really great for shirts or, a design to put on cloth. You don't want that to be, a picture of somebody's face, not really. So these are questions that maybe I will be addressing in the future. Right now, I have a limited amount of time to work on things, and that's why in the coming few weeks, I'm going to be making miniatures because I just don't have time for a larger painting. But I do think that these miniatures are getting better and better. So I feel optimistic about that. And let me just do a little bit more screen sharing with you. So, let's see. Um, this one is not going that well, but I just wanted to show you it's spring and I'm really, really hopeful. And only, in less than a week ago, everything was frozen and now it's not frozen anymore. Now, we hear a lot of sounds from the peepers. That's what they're called locally. They're the frogs. They're coming to life. I don't know. They must have been frozen all this time and they're coming to life. And I'm really, really excited about that. So I hope you can follow me in the future. I'm going to get much better at screen sharing and I'll be able to show you so many, many things that I haven't been able to up to this point. So thank you for taking the time out to talk to me about the difference between design and artwork. And thanks so much for tuning in.